Which one? You don't do this one.
First up, appointments. Mr. Brown.
We're still working on the same thing we've been trying to work on for 3 or 4 meetings now. What did we decide the last time? We were gonna talk for 15 minutes and try to get at least 2 items resolved or something like that?
I think that's a good plan.
I think the next one up is term limits. And for the draft, you can decide whether you want term limits or whether you don't. And if you do, what are the term limits?
I think we somewhat talked about it before, and was it some being 2 years, some being 3 years, and some being 5 years? It's hard. You know, I mean, it's hard to say 3 for a term limit, and then if you're only doing 2 years, you know, 6 years and you're done, it's just, you know.
You could do a certain number, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Steve.
You could do a certain number of years, and if somebody, it's in the middle, it's like if you say it's 12 years and you're in your third 5-year term, you finish out your term. So you don't end at 12 years, you go through your 3 5-year terms, you know,
How does it,
just as an example.
that's where I was gonna go to, and my question was, how does it work for council? So we have 12 years is a limit, but if we are running it, like if we get somebody gets elected for a 4-year term, and their 12 years happens to come up in the middle of that, do they continue to sort out those 2 years?
They do, and that's, I think the charter says that you cannot run for election having served 12 consecutive years. But if you run on your 10th year
Yeah,
and you get a 4-year term, you'll get to the 14. So
okay,
you kind of get 2 bonus years.
yeah. So that's the same concept, Steve. So that's why I was gonna ask that question, just exactly that. So if we picked a year, we could work around the timing of their terms.
And that's what the math wasn't really working with 2, 3, and 5-year terms. What's the common number where
What's
they
the
would
one
all
that's
expire at the same time? And I think it was 35, 30 years.
What's the board that has 5-year? I didn't see that.
I think it's on
Local
the list.
officers compensation
Oh, okay.
commission.
And that's state law. Officers' compensation establishes that as a 5-year.
And they only meet every other year, right?
Every 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, so somebody does that for 15 years. That's probably okay, since they probably, they
Yeah.
only meet a handful of times in their
Right.
15 years.
I would be content with saying, instead of terms, going years and saying 12. And if somebody's in the middle, they finish serving. Is there a way to write that up that way or not?
Yeah, it would be something similar to the councils to say that nobody can be reappointed having served 12 consecutive years. So again, if they're in their third 5-year term, they would end up going 15. The 3 would be, the 3 and the 2 would work out, because then you're talking 4 terms or 6 terms.
And there's some 4 years too, right? I think the Brownfield and Oneida Bay.
Yes. So the 12 is the most common. And it would only affect, and I'm just circling through it now, I think it would only affect the local officers' compensation commission.
I just thought that concept as well. It's a good plan.
I mean, it kind of solves it. So I don't know what everybody else's feelings are on it, but that's what I'll throw out.
I'm fine with that. I don't have, term limits is not the biggest thing for me anyway, so.
Can we pass a motion in this meeting, or do we got it?
I think Scott's just gonna continually up, as we go through some of this stuff and add stuff, we're just gonna come up with another draft.
Yeah, I think let's go through the whole thing, and when we've got it all polished up, then we'll bring it back for one, resolution to adopt the whole thing versus adopting separate sections. That'd probably be the cleanest. What do you say, Will?
Yeah, no, I would do it, get it all done.
Won't we need some kind of consensus thing?
Mhm.
To some degree?
I'm still calling, but go ahead, Brenda.
No, I'm still, yeah. Brown said yes to 12, Debbie. Tom was okay
That's
with it. Where's everybody else?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm withdrawn, I don't really,
No, can you, no,
well, I
Or
haven't,
no.
but it doesn't really matter, I just don't see what issue we're really trying to address, but that seems to be I'm okay with it.
So Will brought up a good question. Does this cover, can somebody serve 12 years on LDFA and then be appointed to planning for 12 years?
Yes.
I don't see why not.
So you're saying
It's
it's
a different
board specific?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's 12
I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I
consecutive
don't see
years.
a problem with that.
And then do we wanna put a sunset on that? So 2-year sunset, 4-year sunset, or if somebody expresses interest again in it, kinda like what council is? 'Cause we're what, a 2-year between?
That's only because of the election cycle.
No, once you term out, you can't rerun for 2 years, right? Is that what it is?
I don't think it's prohibited in the charter. I think it's just because of the election cycle is every 2 years.
Maybe, cause I think Tanya and I both term limited last time, so.
Right. But in the next election cycle, you could have ran again.
I didn't know that, but I wasn't gonna anyway.
Which would have been 2 years, so roughly a 2-year sunset, I mean, it's.
what about current members on our boards? Might wipe out so many of them that we won't.
Yeah, I would.
Well, I would assume-
I would start this from the day where,
Yeah, don't go back,
yeah,
Right.
start from now.
the day we approve it.
And a waste of time.
Yeah.
All right, so 12 consecutive years, it's board specific, and this whole thing becomes effective upon adoption.
Are you adding what, Jeff said about after 2 years, they could, I mean, are they done forever?
I haven't because I guess that's still a discussion amongst the 7 of you.
I think that I'd say just one, because, yeah, the
Yeah,
election
it-
cycle determines how,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no election, you can't run, so it just automatically makes it 2, but one is fine, I think.
So they'd have to take a year break if they wanted to get back on.
The same committee.
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm hearing 3, the far right, the middle of the road. Is the 1 year cooling off period acceptable to a majority?
Okay with me.
I don't have any problem with it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep, I didn't want to take it over, but we'll keep guiding you. The next one is restriction as to the number of authorities, boards, commissions, or committees an individual can serve, or appointees are restricted to no more than, so no limit, or is there a limit? And if there is a limit, what is the limit to the number of authorities, boards, commissions, and committees an individual can serve on?
Well, although I've been pretty vocal about it, I think there should be a limit, and I would set it at 3.
I would agree with that.
There's 16 boards on it. I just,
We might be adding one here real soon.
what, another board?
Yeah. What is it, was something I was reading in here.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I'd be okay with 3, I could do 4 too.
I can do that too.
I would lean towards, it would be a quarter, so 4, right? 4 or 8,
4 fine with
way
me.
home math.
I wanna see some type of a limit. And then we're gonna run into 4 is the limit, and then the mayor's required to serve on 2, is it 2 more?
No, not 2 more, just 2.
2.
2 plus 1.
Could serve on 2 more.
No, not 4 additional, it would be a total of 4.
Right, but I'm saying that the mayor is required to serve on election commission and planning commission,
Right.
so the mayor could serve on 2 more,
Got it.
up to 2
Yeah.
more, to meet the 4 minimum, or 4 maximum. So there's only where there's discretion for everybody to sit on a combination of 4, the mayor would be limited to only 2 more that are non-designated. So we'll go with 4.
I was just, my only thing is the mayor is not really a highly paid job. And if the mayor wants to serve on as many committees, I'm okay with that. That's just me. I just feel like, obviously, it means that they're interested in participating, so. I just don't wanna limit it for future mayors who are like all excited, they wanna be on 5 or 6 boards, yeah.
Right, yeah,
We,
I don't agree, and that's okay.
I know.
I guess you could almost word that as 4, what was that term you used? Undesignated? Undesignated boards, make a 4 limit, and the designated boards are the designated boards. I mean, if, so the mayor could potentially be on 6.
No, I still cap it at 4 total.
Is that a timeout?
That's the cap. No, that's my 4, it's the cap. 4.
Why any number, I guess? I mean, why 3, why 4, why 6? I mean, what's the, and there's gonna be mayors that I don't agree with, and mayors that I do agree with. But I don't necessarily, I feel like if they wanna be mayor for 2 years and they wanna be on certain committees for 2 years, to me, that shows that they're showing up. You know, whether I agree with them or not on the issues. So I'm just talking about mayors in general.
The whole thing comes from the present mayor being on 6 or 7 boards, and others of us wanting to be on boards and are on none.
Well, I can appreciate that, and that's why I've said I think everybody should be on one. But I don't think you necessarily have to, I don't see why one has to go with the other. So.
I don't think it's just the mayor, I think it's any of us or anybody in general. I don't think it's just the elected officials. I think it puts us in a bad position as a city to have the same person on as many boards as they wanna be on. I appreciate the enthusiasm and all of that, but it puts us in a bad spot should that person leave. Then we've got holes to fill on all those boards. I think we need to use these boards. Part of the importance of them is to help people to learn and understand how boards work, how the city runs, all of that stuff. It's a good training. And I think if we have the same person on multiple boards, it doesn't provide the opportunity for people to express interest, get on the board, learn a lot, spend time investing in understanding what the specific board does. And so I don't support having more than 3 or 4. I guess I'd be okay with 4, but that's my limit.
I definitely think every council member should have a place, but I don't necessarily think, and I think it specific to the mayor right now, because it is the mayor who's on those, and Steve and I know that he and I have had issues in the past when we served together, so, and we probably will have disagreements going forward. On the other hand, I do appreciate when somebody, and maybe we won't, I don't know. I don't know the future.
So it
But-
makes it interesting.
Exactly. Interesting is a good word.
Yeah.
But I'm just, I don't know. I just feel like if there's, if there's people at the door waiting, and there are people who have showed a commitment, there are people who are, have been attending meetings, there are people who are on, I think that we should certainly be giving them, opportunity to be on, but, I feel like it's a non-issue with myself. That's just kind of where I'm at. But I will accept that there's definitely differences.
What I hear in the community is people are glad that the mayor's on multiple things, and why aren't other council members involved? So, I don't support those numbers. I think if you got someone that wants to serve, that's great.
We're doing this partly so that other people can get on boards.
It has nothing to do with me personally. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I think I've been pretty clear about that. It was not anything personal. I don't think any one person, whether it's you or me or anybody at all, should be on that many boards.
Well, I disagree with you, so there we are.
It isn't an argument, it's just a statement. We have 7 of us, so we have 2, 3. I don't know where we,
I'm
we're
good with
tallying,
4.
I guess.
I'm doing pen, but that doesn't mean I can't scribble out. I've got 4 in the blank right now. So that still is your discussion, whether it's 3, 4, or some other number.
I'd be okay with
I'm
4.
for 4.
I'll go for 4.
Okay, that's a majority. That's 4 of you that went for 4.
All right, let's move to commercial rehabilitation. Scott?
Oh, I'm sorry, our time is up, right? for that part?
we're
Okay.
past.
Thank you.
Yes, over the last few years, there's been more than one person interested in purchasing 819 Colby. At one point, it was one of the sites for medical marijuana, but with the delays in adding recreational marijuana and the restrictions, the 1,000-foot restriction, that site was no longer viable because there's one pretty much right across the street. So again, since then, there's been a number of people that called and, can I do this, can I do that? And I've got a gentleman now who actually says he has an offer to purchase. He's a developer, wanted to know what he could do on that site. Of course, kind of limited by what zoning will allow. And then, of course, like a lot of good developers, they ask, what kind of incentives does the city have to offer? And knowing what we currently provide and looking at some of the options that we don't currently provide, if the council wanted to, we could look at doing a commercial rehab district, much like what we currently have kind of in our downtown area. We used that for Dairy Treat years back. I think we did it for Fetch when it was owned by Luann Schwartz. She was going to do an Italian restaurant in there, as well as Harwood Flats. So we basically create a district, any improvements, the cost of those, if somebody did $50,000 worth of improvements, then that would be subject to a tax abatement for up to 10 years, depending on the council's desire. The other is to maybe look at a corridor improvement authority. It's similar to a brownfield, LDFA, or TIFA. We create an area, we do a base taxable value on that site. Let's say it's $5 million. Next year, if it's 5.1 million, we collect that $100,000. Then we can reinvest that into that district. And this is just like grabbing GIS and doing a big square. It may or may not be that. It could be a little bit larger. My intent was to take the west end to the edge of the Tifa district, which is actually Livingston. So there's like half a block that I left out of that. But we could leave more out, we can actually add more. But that pretty much encompasses, the East Colby corridor. I'm not overly excited about creating another authority and capturing taxes. I know, now there are some, I know the schools would not be captured, libraries can opt out, I think counties can now opt out, so it's not like it used to be where we just say, we got your money. But I do know that this has been the topic of more than one conversation with the city council and the public. What can we do to make that place, that stretch look better? This would probably be one of the mechanisms, one of two mechanisms we can implement. I think the commercial rehab would probably be easier. There's no captured taxes. There's no real investment by the city. We just would have a tax advantage to encourage private investment. Again, the corridor improvement, we're gonna have a board, we're gonna have a plan, development plan, financing plan, and we're gonna capture taxes. And then we're gonna be limited as to what we can do with those tax dollars. I think we can still do a facade grant program that we do in the downtown, but most of the captured taxes have to go to public improvements. We're probably not gonna spend a lot of money on Colby Street, because that's not our jurisdiction. So I'm not really sure what else we could do with tax dollars that are captured in there.
So is the commercial rehabilitation district is really just whichever building we're talking about at the time? It's not really,
No, you have to create a district that has to be 3 acres minimum in size, which is actually pretty small. I just went to where the mud puddle is and just kind of expanded. So
that's the court, sorry.
So this whole piece could be the commercial rehab district,
Oh,
or it could be smaller, but it has to be at least 3 acres in size.
And that property is that?
Pardon?
That mud puddle property is that?
Yep, they're at the, where are they at? Corner of Hall and Colby. Right next to Pizza Hut. And I keep wanting to call it the mud poodle, but it's the mud puddle.
What did you say it was?
Mud poodle.
And then for the tax abatements, that's up to 10 years. Is that a certain percentage of tax abatement, or can we decide how long, up to 10 years, or is it automatically just 10 years? Because I'm just not that big of a fan
No,
of
you
that.
can go up to 10 years, but it's 100% abatement on the improvements. Where your typical industrial facility tax abatement is 50%.
Does it have to be 100%?
I think
Or
so.
is that something the council can make a decision?
Yeah, but you might still have the option to go somewhat less.
That's-
And a lot of our IFTs have been based upon investment. Somebody who's doing $1 million and 5 new jobs probably won't get the same terms as 40 million and 100 jobs. You do have discretion.
So if somebody's current value is $10,000 and they're gonna do 5,000 improvements, they only get the tax abatement on the 5,000, is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And it has to be a qualified. When Dairy Treat applied, the state of Michigan denied the deck because that was new, that wasn't rehabilitating anything. They did get some for some of the building work, and I think the Fetch building got roofing and tuck point abated on that.
I think the commercial rehab district would definitely give council a little more latitude than like that versus the other.
Then you gotta have a board.
Yeah, with the other one,
That's
you
what I
want,
was
yeah,
talking
the
about.
other, oh, yeah,
Another
yeah.
board.
I'm
Yeah.
not in favor of creating anything new. If somebody wants to buy a piece of property and develop it, let them do it. The city doesn't need to contribute to everybody all the time. I mean, we already have everything that makes the most money in our city is already in a district to begin with, tax-wise.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if you throw something else in there like this, that's just that much less that's going into the general fund. So I'm not in favor of creating anything.
I'd like to see that district, or I'd like to see that part of our entryway to the city improved if possible. How long is the mud puddle? Been sitting there, I remember when it was, who remembers when it was? all-
Shortstop.
It used to be a
Short
shortstop when I was in
stop.
school.
That was good.
Andy Burns.
That was, yeah.
They did.
That was before McDonald's came to town.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably been at least 10 years.
I mean, I'd like to
The
see.
slugger,
Yeah,
remember the slugger?
yes, yes.
That was a
Pottery
big
place, huh?
Yeah,
Walmart
that was-
sized
that was-
hammer. Well, it was much
Well,
better.
okay. Most recent.
I'm just.
I would like to
No,
see
that's a
improvements on, I mean, visual improvements coming into Colby like everybody else. I still think that some of that, am I not, are they correct that we can make some of that happen with better enforcement of the codes? I feel, go ahead.
We can have nuisances abated, but that's different from actual aesthetic improvements.
So some of these, I'm sorry, go ahead, you were done.
No, I think that would help some, you know. I feel bad for these businesses because they don't get the benefits that you do if you're a couple of blocks over. You know, but on the other hand, I'm like Scott, where I don't wanna see that much more money funneled away from the general fund either.
But the money doesn't exist now, it's new money.
It's money we don't have.
It's money we don't have
Yes.
currently, it's money on new improvement. So if the guy buys the building, makes it $200,000 and the council makes a decision on what we wanna do, it's sitting as a mud puddle, it's never gonna change.
But I meant as far as creating a new zone. And I think a 10-year abatement is a long time, I'd be certainly, you know, if you do a 5-year abatement, it's given the business a chance to get their feet on the ground a little bit.
And that's something that we did, the commercial rehab district, we would, as a council, we would make that decision. It wouldn't be locked in at 5, it wouldn't be locked in at 2,
Right.
and we could look at it as, okay, how much is the investment? Is it worth this, or this for years? I mean, and what will come into the city based on that, jobs and a healthy downtown or a healthy, business corridor. I don't like seeing abandoned buildings, and I've been here my whole life, and we've always had abandoned buildings. It's not good.
No.
You go to some other places that have the same, they're fighting for buildings. I mean, the building opens up and there's 4 people looking in line. I mean, we don't have that.
Would we ever think about doing something like this on a bigger scale? Like, why do we wait for somebody to come and say, we wanna develop this, what's in it for me? Versus offering that up as a, hey, if you come in here and do this, this is how we'll help you.
Well, it's kind of like with the Muskegon, what the county did with the north end, what's that called?
Business park?
Business
You're talking
park.
about?
I mean, if you guys have been down Whitehall Road lately and look at the other side of Bard Road, Lord, they got, and there's a bunch of businesses that have bought property back there, and that's what we need, and the problem is they won't come here without something, they'll go somewhere
Well,
else.
that's what I'm
I
saying,
mean,
I mean, we've got somebody that's interested
Yep.
and we're willing to talk about that one piece of property. What if we, just crazy, what if we just ran it all the way along Colby Street?
I'd actually, that's what I was gonna say, I'd like to see it from the
If
city
they want us
limits.
to do that, why don't we?
Well, that's pretty much what this map is showing.
I'd go city limits to the bridge. I mean,
And we
granted,
can,
it's park,
we
but
would have to, I'd probably not be okay, I guess depending on the size of the investment or whatever, but I probably wouldn't be okay with 10 years, but if we could be flexible on that timing and potentially how much of an abatement, I could really get on board with expanding it more than one property because.
Is this all zone commercial? Or is it,
Yes. Most of it is general,
there are several residences that would not,
they would not qualify for a commercial rehab
okay.
abatement.
They couldn't put a new roof on.
unless that
and say,
property
hey,
was sold, Scott, and they put commercial.
Unless they change it to a
It
business.
could, but this also encompasses the zoning, the general business and the restricted commercial zoning district.
Alright.
So to go that route, you would have to rezone
Rezone.
and then, go through the process of expanding the district.
I personally, like Deb was talking about, I'd like to see it from the city limits to the bridge, if we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I like that idea, and I think too that it can vary, I mean, I might be willing, I don't like tax abatements either generally.
No, I don't.
But I would be willing to give a larger one to a larger investment, so if we have that flexibility, so we have a, small and medium and large projects, and they could, we could offer them different incentives. I mean, if we're gonna, get a sizable, improvement, I'd be willing to do that,
I
so.
mean, we can develop our own criteria, like you said,
Yes.
the investment, jobs created, et cetera. I mean, there's.
I could get really excited about this.
Yeah.
How many, are you able to say how many jobs this would entail if this sale went through? Purchase?
I don't, this individual isn't sure what he's gonna do with it yet,
Okay.
so I don't. Some of the commercial rehabs, maybe no jobs, it's just, retaining jobs versus creating. Much like Dairy Creek, those aren't already an ongoing operation, I don't think their, full-time equivalencies increased at all. But they were able to, maintain the building, add the seating on top to make it more viable. But, you could create criteria, I think that those are probably, you're probably best if there was some latitude with the city council, not just a hard and fast, 5 jobs, you get this, 6 jobs and 10. I mean, it's the whole package. If somebody's investing $200,000 and not creating any jobs, might be not as exciting as somebody doing 100,000 and creating 10 jobs. So you always want to leave a little flexibility in that.
Look at it as a package.
Well, and two, commercial is not necessarily specifically about jobs. I mean,
Correct.
retail generally doesn't have tons of people working for them, but ideally, you get a good mix of retail, you're gonna attract more, will become more of a destination, and our residents will like it as well, so.
I'm guessing the commercial aspect of it is by law, do they have any residential?
I'll double check, there might be some for, I don't think it goes as low as duplexes, but if you've got a 4-plex or a couple of apartment buildings, they might be included. I'd have to go back and check on that. I mean, this is a concept, if council thinks we wanna choose one of these two to try and improve the look of that stretch of the Colby Street, then, staff will work on some options and, maybe not as many blanks as the appointments, but we can keep coming back and hammering out those details.
I think something to consider is just city pays for the demolition cost. Cause that's a fairly good sized lot.
But the city
We-
doesn't have any cost in it at all at this point, with the tax abatement sort of
Yeah.
as an offering, there's no outlay on our part, it's just we wait to realize any gain on the taxes, right?
Right, but we are also prohibited by law of, I think they call it extending the city credit to doing something like that. City can't just pay to go in and demolish. Now, if it's in a brownfield or a Tifa, there's some latitude to assist. But we have to be careful that we're not lending our credit, basically our money,
And it depends
to non-qualifying.
if we acquire the property, kind of like what we did at, what was it, Alice and Mears back in the day? Did we- Yes, I
You had to bring that
Yes,
one
I
up,
forget
didn't
it.
you?
But we did that. I mean,
We did that, yes. And we've demolished buildings, but mostly once they were in our ownership
yes,
through tax reversion, and then we turn around and sell.
and that's happening quite a bit in multiple jurisdictions in the county, so.
I think that property's, I'd rather own that property vacant than with what's on it,
I'm not sure what the structure looks like inside. I mean, it's been sitting forever, and anytime you close up a building, Mother Nature starts doing her trick.
And when we call it a rehabilitation, they have to keep the existing building or just a little bit of it,
No, they can, like Harwood Flats, that was a vacant piece of property.
right?
So you can go from ground up.
So how does it work when this new district overlaps the Tiffin district? Or, what takes precedent, or who gets?
Well, it's another tool in the box. Currently, we do have the commercial rehab district overlapping the Tifa district.
Oh,
Because Tifa district, in itself can't give out tax abatements. Those are separate action by the city council.
nice.
This would be able to go, if you wanted to go city border to the bridge. I don't know if the mechanism would be to dissolve the current one that's there, or if we kind of stop and then start on the other side, or if we can encompass and expand. Lot of
That's what I was wondering.
details, but you can have a commercial rehab district overlapping a TIFA.
Okay,
I will double check that, because they did change the laws back in 18. But,
so who gets the money? I mean, who gets the,
well, nobody gets the
No,
money.
they don't pay it.
I mean, the tax that's captured, or is there no tax?
No, there's no tax capture in a commercial rehab district.
Oh, okay,
That's just where you won't pay taxes on the improvement until a set period of time.
I guess.
And we make that determination, Steve, what we wanna do based on the package they present us.
Right.
So we'll give it to you for, we'll throw, we'll throw 2 years at you, or 3 or 4, whatever we decide.
We'll just have an option.
We'll have the option as a council to be able to make that decision as a group.
We see a good improvement, we say.
Yep.
Yeah.
If we like the plan, and what's laid out there,
Makes sense to me.
I think it's a great idea.
Be great to find a way to put it forward in an exciting way so that we could attract people to take a look at it.
Advertise that.
So rather than just waiting until people
Mm-hmm.
kind of ask, that we put it out there and let people know that these possibilities are available.
Yeah, we do. I know that Greater Muskegon Economic Development is aware of our incentives right now. Most real estate agents are. I mean, they don't come and go, but sometimes you get new real estate agents, and we do reach out to them. So that when somebody's looking at a building, they can say, hey, I know the city can offer this.
Be nice, I mean, if there was something on the website that was, hey, if you're looking for a place, we got a place for you.
We'll do that.
And if there's a property that's is in there, once we make this region, and then there's a property that's there that wants to do something, they're already a business or whatever, and they do some renovating, is that what they qualify for? Okay.
Yep.
I think it's an attractive thing, and I like the fact that there's some flexibility in how much is up for abatement and that kind of thing, so.
All right, staff will start working on that and bring some drafts back to you.
Alright. Next up is streets. Tanya.
What's that?
Streets.
Oh,
I thought you said treats, I thought we were getting some snacks.
what? Was I supposed to bring it's my turn tonight? I didn't know. Made me think of Girl Scouts.
The treat is being on the board.
Oh, okay. So streets, I think there's not a whole lot to say about that Scott has not already said, which is right there, and I'm gonna give that to that document, just a minute. But really, I just wanna see an updated plan. So
Yeah,
basically, that's
definitely.
the upshot of what Scott has written there, is that there's a need for an updated plan before we look at priorities. I just think it would be helpful when people ask me about streets, I could say, there's this big plan that's on the wall of City Hall. And here's your street, and here's when you're due, something like that, so. I didn't necessarily mean on City Hall, but that's not a bad idea, so yeah, I think it'd be very helpful, once that's done, for us to take a look at it and see if we can, understand it.
Anything more on that by anyone?
No, do you know about when, Scott, that'll be ready?
We've touched base with Brenda Newhoff already about it in general. We could probably have something just shooting from the hip, probably end of the year, first of next year. Because they would have to go through and re-rate all 26 miles of street.
Oh, the sooner the better.
Yep.
So maybe
It's easy.
next year we'll take a good look at it in January.
Yep. Everything probably by the latest.
That'd be great.
Alright. Next up is housing. Tanya.
Which I didn't necessarily think that they would be on the same work session, but that is fine. And this is related to affordable housing that I had mentioned before, that I would like to have a discussion about how we can have more housing in the community that is affordable. And also, I think the study that you sent, Scott, is very helpful. The Muskegon County study, looking at the county as a whole and what income levels there are and what the rental needs are. Certainly a lot of senior needs, as we have an aging population, and the idea that over 50% of people who commute here would like to live here if there was available housing. So it just shows that there are definitely opportunities for us maybe to help fulfill that need. And it seems like there was also one section of that study that said there could be municipal specific plans that kind of were integrated into, more of a county strategy. Scott, can you remind me when that Muskegon study was done?
It was just done, I believe, this
year?
late,
2020. I think it's
2023.
2020, okay, good.
And the study itself is voluminous,
2023. Yes.
so hopefully the PowerPoint gave you enough.
Well, even that was long, but I grabbed it all and I made a summary, so if anybody wants it, it's a one pager, hard to believe. But it's just useful to kind of get your head around. But things like tiny house villages, what I mentioned before. We could be looking at more duplexes, multifamily. I know there are some communities that have co-housing where people share common meeting space and common place where they eat meals. People who are at a stage in their life where they're don't have a big family and want that supportive housing, accessory dwelling units, so that, let's say maybe Grandma Tanya wants to move in with the kids, but she doesn't want to live with them,
They don't want that
Vice
either.
versa, probably.
But vice versa, what? Have you been talking to them?
Just put your residence on the other side of the garage.
Well, you get the idea.
Common garage.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about,
And
just the.
If some of those types of proproperties fit into the commercial rehab,
Exactly.
that'd be a really good pair. and
That's what I was
more
thinking
attractive
too,
to
that if
developers.
there's an open parcel that could be a multi-level home or could fit into one of these scenarios, but I would love to plan it rather than just waiting for folks to come here to look at, do a land inventory, excuse me, and say, where are the places that we might be able to see some of these things happen, So, and there are communities that have done things. Traverse City has a tiny village, and there's Ypsilanti and different communities that have already done some of these that maybe we should take a field trip. So anyway, but
Sure.
I'm just
We got mayor's exchange.
Pardon?
We got mayor's exchange coming up. I don't know where we're going.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Fenville.
Fenville?
Oh, Fenville.
One of the things we gotta look at too is what properties we have available. I mean,
Exactly.
from,
Land
and that's where we're running into an issue, cause it was last meeting where we looked at that subdivision potential.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have a lot of available property in
Well,
the city
and we
anymore.
don't have to own it, the city doesn't have to own these properties,
Yeah.
right? These are just potentials that could, if somebody were, maybe the current owner wants to do some developing, or
Yeah.
if they want to sell, there are options for some help.
Well, I think a land inventory would be the first step. Look and see what we have available.
Might be that Montague's got a lot more property that's more amenable to that type of a situation than Whitehall does.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know either, but they
Yeah.
might.
Well, and who knows,
We
maybe.
have got these huge apartment complexes out here already that, I don't know if you call them affordable, is it, what exactly is the definition of affordable? Does it mean government subsidized or what?
It's a good question.
I don't understand all these things.
I know
what are we
years
trying to
ago, they were income based, the
That's the one.
original, grouping was income-based, I remember. And I don't think the new anchor,
That's separate. homeowners
that's separate, yeah, that's different, I think that's market rate. I think the others are, still might be income-based, you know, and you're right, but then Montague also has senior, you know, the 55 and over downtown. On the other hand, the study is showing that we are, you know, the county at least is still in need, so to the extent that there are places in the city of Whitehall, I know that I talk with young people who can't find a home, you know, because the boomers are hanging on to them, I guess.
Does anybody know what the, Shelby has a new subdivision, about a mile north of
31 there
town.
across from the school.
Right, and that, they're nice looking houses, they're relatively small, I think they're, you know, first homes kind of thing. They're on bigger lots than you need, but I'd be interested in knowing what they'll sell for.
It's not the city that initiates it though. Some
Right.
developer
Yeah.
decided to do this and make it in this price range. I
Right.
mean, we can't have the city saying, okay, we're gonna build this. We can't do that.
Right, but I was just curious if, you know, what the cost would run on those.
The
Yeah.
cheapest one is 214.9.
Is that right?
214.9 to, I believe it was 225.9 and 249.9.
It's
I don't consider
ridiculous.
that affordable housing,
No.
No.
at least by my term.
But anybody that comes here from Chicago or California would say, wow, that's cheap. I'll take three.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Shelby's trying to, I mean, you're trying to find affordable housing for the market of people that live in your area,
Yeah.
you know, and you don't, I just don't see that as affordable housing.
Well, I do think we should at least talk to folks at the county, you know, with their housing study to see if there's a way that the city could be part of, you know, some of the talks or part of the projects. Maybe we can, you know, get some, working with others, we can get some ideas. Plus, Scott, I think I talked to someone at True North, and there are entities that will partner with cities, you know, so it's just, and I'm not necessarily looking, Steve, at income-based, I'm just looking at what's out there, what's being done, and what might be appropriate for the city of Whitehall.
All right, we need to wrap this up so we can have
I absolutely, and I think really the
This is-
land inventory is where we would start if people were interested.
All right, this is time for public comment. Anyone like to make a public comment? Step up to the podium, give your name.
Greetings, everyone. Oh, that's working good tonight. Before I start my 3 minutes, can I just make a comment that Mud Puddle previously was shortstop, but originally it was Mr. Carl Rude's A&W roofing stand. Anyway, 3 minutes. I love kids. And I was called, and it was brought to my attention that there were kids down on along the river there on my property at the Dog and Sons. And I went down there, and they're like little worker bees. One individual child that's like this tall can't do any damage really. But you get 6 or 8 of them together, and it's amazing the destruction potential there is. And they were throwing my riprap into the river and just running around and causing trouble and fishing. And it was, it was cool. The city or community or somebody had a fishing tournament. And it's where I got to almost sit down there, and police the whole thing. Because, I don't have anywhere to, it's like, the old saying, poop rolls downhill. Well, I'm an easy target because the other side of the river, which you guys are responsible for keeping orderly and keeping clean, and it's, on the master plan, like I said, it's labeled as public access for the purpose of fishing. You can't fish along the river. There's one little spot by a willow tree that you can put 2 or 3 people that were casting into the river. And then, of course, along the bridge above, and there's a little spot that might be a little suitable for 1 or 2 people. anyhow, I don't expect an update on the situation there or whatever, but I will tell you that I'm gonna make further efforts to go over your heads if I need to, if I can, and see what I can do. Enough about that. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I think the police officers, especially the chief, needs to be they need to be nice people. They need to respond to the public in a cordial kind of way. They're in public relations. When I asked about the cruising parade, which I didn't bring up, it was brought up at the council meeting one night about a month ago, and gentleman said he was on board. And innocent enough, I come along and I kind of know a little bit about the cruising parade. I mean, I kind of started it. We used to have a Thursday night cruise at the drive-in every Thursday night, and then it kind of got so big, and it kind of became like a big thing. And Tim Todd was part of it, and he got, they got organized, and it became what we now know as cruising. But I haven't been involved in it in quite a while, and I simply asked a question, because up at Silver Lake, there's a fatality, and
Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
But they don't they don't close the dunes.
You're done.
Yeah. How many beers have you had tonight, Steve, before the meeting? Did you count my 3 minutes? I don't, because I don't think that was 3 minutes. Anyway,
You're done.
he grumbles and he's like, I don't know you in the explanation. I'm like, that's not the way to conduct business with the public, especially in a person that's in leadership.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we're adjourned. 6 o'clock, I call this meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. All right. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is the approval of the agenda.
I'll move for the approval of the agenda.
Second,
Been moved in second, any discussion? All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Agenda's approved. Next is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Been moved in second, any questions, comments?
Yes, over here. There is one thing on one of the amendments that is incorrect, and it is the one about the marijuana money. And I, we had taken amendments one by one, and I had voted yes, with the majority, and I have voted no. So it is, which one is that? Sorry.
Amendment, first amendment.
Oh, the first one, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I had voted with the majority with that one.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep, I will correct that.
Anyone else?
I have one question on the accounts payable, page 3 of 6. Rome Tech for $20,000 for Sailaway Park design. What is that?
Well, that's the down payment for the Pocket Park bathroom. It shouldn't say Sellway Park design. I think that's just a carryover on the line item number.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the consent agenda say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Consent agenda is approved. Next is message from mayor, city manager, and council. Steve, start with you.
Well, the fishing tournament was a big deal. I had 4 grandsons there, had some winners, and amongst our 4, and there was 60 winners altogether, 3 and 10 winners of each, girls and boys in each division, three divisions. So, being 60 winners, there had to have been over 100 kids altogether involved in that thing. And there was, and all the adults and grandparents and aunts and uncles and friends that all go with, that was such a good deal. It was so well attended. I was just really impressed with that. It was a lot of fun. And that's the kind of thing that kids should be doing rather than playing on their phone, you know. It was a good thing. That's all I had. Thanks.
Scott?
I have 2 things. One is, since we just skipped over Tifa on the work session again, the ask that it be put on and not be skipped over again would be the first thing on the list. And the other would be to ask for the next work session to also, as I've asked at the last meeting, that we do something to look at the parking problem with at the school pickup time. It's an accident waiting to happen. It needs addressed. I don't care if people are not. And I don't care if the school wants to work with us or not. It needs addressed. If it comes down to we gotta put signs up that say no stopping, standing, or parking, then that's what we gotta do. And then we gotta enforce it. But something needs to be done about it, so we need to discuss it. That's all I had.
Jeff?
Nothing tonight.
Tim? Tom?
The switchback part still has not been cleaned up at all this year. We're halfway into June, I think it needs to get done, make it presentable. That's it.
I don't have anything this evening. Thank you.
Just a quick thing, and this is a little outside of my city council role, but I work for an environmental organization, and since 2021, we have been pulling together mostly municipalities, but also community organizations across Muskegon County to look at ways to improve recycling. And so we've got a number of grants and state grants, and right now we have just kicked off this week a grant where we have expert assistance from an expert organization we've worked with before through the end of this year to do 3 things. And I just think they're important, so I'm just going to be mentioning them here and there. One, to pull together municipalities to see if there's more ways to partner, like for example, our White Lake Area Solid Waste Authority, which I hold up as an example anytime I talk about recycling throughout the county. Maybe there's more people who want to do something like that to save money, you know, because the more we can deal with vendors together, maybe we can save money, or more that we can generate more volume. Number 2, a public education campaign, creation of a public education campaign. We are one of the counties in the state of Michigan that has 0 educational messaging on recycling. We've had it up and down and here and there, but we haven't had it for quite a few years. So a lot of the people don't even know where we do have recycling facilities. And so one of the things that my organization was able to do a couple years ago was to hire the same firm we're working with to update all of the existing conditions, all of the places where we have recycling programs and services. And so we will turn that into like a public, a public thing. So the campaign will be why recycle, how to recycle, and where you can recycle. And then the third thing is they will help us develop what's commonly called kind of like a hub and spoke, a concept of a hub and spoke collection system where you have a central collection facility, and then your spokes are like drop-off centers around the county. The state law is requiring that counties step up and have more, so we have the county folks with us, and we're going to design a conceptual model of how that might look layered onto the existing facilities that we have, so that we will, when the county starts developing a plan with other counties, because they're going to do a regional, we will already have started to build our framework a little bit more. So this is really a big deal, and I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping that we can get a City of Whitehall representative to the meetings again, because Dick Connell was attending, and since he has not on anymore, we don't have a City of Whitehall person. So I probably doesn't make sense for me to do double duty since I'm representing my organization with the effort. So if anybody's really as excited about recycling as I am, I would welcome you on, and they're virtual meetings. So if anybody wants more information, I will send it to them.
All right, thank you. As for me, I want to talk about the 4th of July fireworks. They are going to happen this year. I hope they're going to happen next year. But as a fireworks committee, we're looking in 2 years, in 2026, we'll be celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country. So I think as a city, we should certainly be looking at what we want to do to focus on that celebration. Do we want to, and if we want to have fireworks on that 4th of July, we need to be thinking about that real soon, whether we're going to commit to supporting those. I'd like to hear from people what they want to do. Do you want to be involved in fireworks again next year and the year after? And we've got a quote from the fireworks provider this year for next year, which would be the same price of $20,000. No guarantee for 2026, but the sooner we commit to that date, probably the better price we're going to get if we so choose to continue with this. with that, we'll move up to public comment once again.
Your Honor. Kim Sear, County Commissioner for District 1, the Great White North. I have a couple of items here. First of all, I want to, we have for the senior millage, the annual report is out, and it has a lot of good data in it about what the senior millage money does. It also has how many participants are participating in different municipalities and so forth, and the money that's being spent and so forth. I have one copy. There's some more available if you would like.
Give it to Tanya.
Yeah, there you go.
She's the one that's running the senior committees.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item I have is I am working on a resolution in support of local community food access and production with a local township supervisor. I guess we put this in a nutshell. It is so that local food producers would have access to the production of their food, so they can grow it and they can sell it at the market. They can sell it out on the street in front of their house. Right now, I have seen some stuff coming down from the state that indicates they're a little concerned about all these small farms because they don't have inspectors there checking them out and seeing what's going on with them. So if you have 6 chickens in your backyard, you may get a knock on the door from somebody at the state. And we don't want to go there. So that's what this resolution is all about. We had a situation in the county where MDARD showed up, which is the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, and knocked on a local farmer's door and said, we're here to do an inspection unannounced, and so they just kind of showed up. We don't want that happening. That violates trespass laws without a warrant. So that's one thing I'm working on. Another thing that I have recently brought to my attention, this is a letter from a school superintendent. I'm just going to read it to you, just letting you know I sat through a really unsettling state-level meeting about sex education yesterday. I'm one of 7 superintendents that have seen the presentation. I was professional, but also furious about a few topics, and I let it be known I doubt that it will get back to you, but I wanted you to be aware. In short, legislation is being planned to push changes in sex education during the lame duck session after November election this year. Sounds like votes across party lines will be there. I am told that this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to change the laws. It adds abortion to the requirements to be taught. It adds all forms of FDA-approved contraception to be taught. It allows school staff to distribute condoms to kids. It adds bodily autonomy to requirements to be taught. It removes a member of the clergy from being required to serve on the Sex Education Advisory Board and mandates the health standards of the Michigan model to be updated. I was shocked and in awe of what I heard from the Michigan Organization of Sexual Health in Adolescents. Legislature Services Bureau is crafting the law updates now with Democratic representatives. I'll keep you posted, but if these items really become law, hang on for the ride. Just an FYI for anybody who has children in school. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. No others, then we'll move on to old business, funnel field request. Scott?
Yeah, the letter was included again in your packet for tonight. I know council had a number of questions. I did speak with Mr. Hunter Olson. He was planning to attend to answer whatever questions you have, but he is unavailable this evening. So you'll see this in another 2 weeks.
Is this the same letter?
Yes.
Is it? Okay, because it didn't answer any of the questions that we brought up.
Well, and I felt to give them all due opportunity for them to address the concerns, because I know some questions were raised and some council members said that they had a lot of questions, but we didn't, Brenda and I didn't have specific questions in some instances, so.
All right. We'll move on to new business. Walk the Beat road closure request. Everyone read the letter?
I'll make a motion to whatever we gotta do.
Support it.
Support the walk the beat road closure request.
I'll second that.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion on this?
Definitely brings a lot of people to town.
It's a good thing for the community.
Yes, it is.
All right,
This one I agree with.
all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. Request is approved. Next up is resolution 2422, chamber building painting project.
I'll move resolution 2422, the chamber building painting project.
Second.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
I just said,
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I had a question on that the cost for the new paint is 12,000 and change, but the DNR had budgeted 28,000 and change. I wondered if there's another way to use up some of that other budgeted money.
No.
No.
I can say turtle fence, and that might say plenty. But the 28,430 that the DNR had allocated was based upon an early estimate. We had gotten 2 estimates, and they actually went with the higher estimate for funding purposes. But it is strictly to be used for painting the chamber building. We asked for the deck restaining to be an option, so we're gonna ask the DNR to pay for that. Since the total cost is less than half of what they budgeted.
Mhm.
So Amy will get everything that she wants.
And this is entirely exterior?
Correct.
Are there any interior needs?
Not that we had included in this or that the Chamber of Commerce requested. I'm sure there's plenty of interior needs, but at least on this project,
I mean, would this cover interior painting if it was needed?
it would not. It was pretty specific.
Where are we at with the floating dock out there? Is that ours? Behind the chamber?
Probably not ours, cause I don't know about it. But that doesn't mean Brian didn't do something. I'll have to look into that.
I mean, at Lions Park.
Oh, at Lions Park.
Lions Park, I want to say. I'm sorry.
There's a floating thing there for them, for
Right.
people to put kayaks in, but
Right.
the rest of it is stationary.
Yeah, there's a walkway and dock that essentially floats.
Yeah, that's something that DPW and Water Dog coordinate every year.
Okay. All right, then we've been moved and seconded.
I got one more question on this deal. Are we spending the $12,000 or is the DNR spending?
It will be a reimbursable. We'll
So
pay it.
we're spending it and they're reimbursing us for it?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought it was, but I just wanted to verify.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Sittendale,
Yes.
Cavallo,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2422 is approved. Next is resolution 2423, social district permit for Mylands Restaurant.
I'll move resolution 2423 social district permit for Mylands Restaurant forward.
I will second that.
Okay. Been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
There's no major street involved in adding this social district to the social district that's already there. I mean, I saw Muskegon just turned one down recently because it crossed Seaway, is it called Seaway Drive? Whatever they call it. And, but we don't have anything like that as an issue with this. This is like just connected by a parking lot to the other social district, right?
Correct, and Mylands is already in the social district. What this does is this is required because of a change of ownership.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep, so we're not changing the district or the I don't know, Brenda's got the details,
Common area.
common area.
Mhm.
So this changes nothing from our aspect, just allows the new owners to participate.
We've already approved that location to be a part of our social district, and the previous owner was a part of it. And now the new owner has to reapply to the city. It's something, a requirement from the Liquor Control Commission. Speaking of the new owner, he was. Opportune time, we're here to just vote on this, resolution to approve your inclusion in the social district. If there's no further discussion, roll call please.
Brown,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Salter. No,
Yes.
sorry, Holmstrom.
Yes.
See who's on their toes, not me. Sittenga
Yes.
and Salter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 2423 is approved. Last up is public comment again. Anyone like to make a public comment? Do we have any students?
Well, school's all that.
All right.
School's out.
All right. If there's no further comments, we're adjourned.
School's out for somebody?
School's out for School's out for somebody.
Well, I mean, yes, I do, I wanna talk to him first of all. Okay, you got the picture,
Thank you so much. Well, I'd like to speak about.
Okay.